Out of, so we call this meeting to order tonight. It's May 6th, 2024. All the commissioners are present, as is Assistant Town Manager Niles and Town Manager Wade, all here. If we could, start off with the national anthem. Jeff, if you're ready.
You're going to make him sing?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Maybe we will sing something one of these days. You never know. We like that.
I'll sing.
All right, that's good.
I think next Saturday's meeting would be a great time to sing.
Next Saturday's meeting?
You're
Okay.
the only one there, but
Well,
I'm just playing.
no, I would say,
You and Sarah.
if Sarah wants to lead something, I would gladly do that. That'd be great.
I make a motion, we don't do that?
Second that motion.
Motion denied. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a public hearing on proposed ordinance number 228. Man, how many times have we said this already? This is a new ordinance, right? It's a different ordinance number? It changed. 224 was our historic, okay.
At the last meeting, I noted that the change would have to be because it was a new, because these are changes, they count as a new ordinance. So it was given a new ordinance number.
Wow. Hopefully we don't end up in 4 digits on this one. This is a public hearing on proposed ordinance number 228. The proposed ordinance amends ordinance number 224 of the Poolesville Code of Ordinances zoning code to address backyard chicken use and requirements related thereto. The file for this public hearing contains the following exhibits. Proposed ordinance number 228. Secondly, notice of public hearing. Third, notice placed in the Frederick News Post on April 25th, 2024 and May 2nd, 2024. Any person wishing to do so may now testify or ask questions of the commissioners about the proposed ordinance number 228 after giving your name and address. Real quickly, when do we close the record on this again?
I typically wait till Friday, close the business.
This Friday, close the business, which is 5 o'clock?
10th, yep.
The 10th, right, at 5 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Okay, we close early. Okay, good.
This is municipality.
Yeah, got it. All right, thank you for that, guys. Okay, so we have 2 people willing to do testimony, and we're going to go, since we're in order on this sheet, Matthew Johnson, come on up, identify yourself. You got 3 minutes, brother.
Does that include answering my questions?
Yeah, it's a liberal 3 minutes.
Very good. All right. This is not the first time I've spoken to you on this topic. You may recall that when 224 was considered, Mr. Eck and I each proposed a set of balanced regulations to balance the interests of the chicken fanciers with property owners in town. Both of those proposals were quickly pushed aside because of the central issue that stands in front of you today, and that is 224 put the town's code in conformity with Montgomery County. In doing so, the town was able to rely on Montgomery County to enforce the terms of the code. Now, tonight's proposal, 228, removes the town from that conformity. And in doing so, it places full responsibility on this body to enforce all the rules, to pursue complaints, to measure, to judge the health of birds, to take on a set of responsibilities that the town has not had any experience with. And in connection with that, I might ask, where is the cost estimate for supporting this change? Does anyone have a cost estimate?
No, that's your question.
Okay.
Not that I know of. Town staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is it reasonable to assume that on April 22nd, when this body approved a new budget for the next fiscal year, that no additional funds were allocated to this purpose to cover the additional responsibility? Okay. Much as I expected. All right. Now, that is the central point. But since I have a few seconds left, I'll also point out that
I'm not cutting you off, Matt.
The-
Keep going.
Okay, the specifics of this proposal are faulty. First, the proposal is to reduce the necessary size per chicken down to 2 square feet. All right? I refer to the Cooperative Extension Service of the United States Department of Agriculture, which holds that 3 to 4 feet, square feet per bird, is a minimum size. Other sources note that reducing size down to 2 produces far more aggression in the birds. It increases pecking behavior, which has a tendency to cause infections, reduce the health of the birds. I don't know where this idea came from, why people thought it a good idea to crowd the birds, but I point out that I believe that's a mistake. Now, from a standpoint of the neighbors, the property owners, I would point out that the reduction from 100 feet to 50 feet is important. It puts potential bird populations very near to neighbors. I would point out that 50 feet is approximately the length of this room, and I believe that that is entirely too close to neighboring properties, neighboring homes and businesses to place chicken coops. And with that, I close my remarks.
Matt, thank you for coming up and raising those questions. And I have a question for for town staff, or Martin, because I know the planning commission's gone through this already, that reducing the minimum coop size, 2 square feet per chicken, what was the logic behind that?
So we have some testimony from several residents to the planning commission stating that in colder climates, and different climates have different requirements for what's a recommended size for a coop per chicken, square footage.
So
That was
colder
the reasoning
climates
that it was-
reduce that.
For this area here, 2 was adequate.
And did they produce any evidence to back that
It
up?
was just verbal at the time. They did have some written. I'd have to go back and check. I honestly don't know.
Very good.
And I know Lexi did some research on it too, like she looked into some stuff. I can't cite her sources right now.
Can I ask a question about enforcement? Now, my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong from Niles, was that certainly in 224, other than the permit, measuring the distances and whatnot, that was part of the permit process. Now, my understanding, my understanding is 228, even though the distances were different, that the only enforcement was, again, permitting.
No, we did get complaints, and we had to go out and check. So we did our own code enforcement with that. We would go out and measure coops, and we did have a coop that was placed too close to a property line, and we required the owner of the home to move it.
So the enforcement, I didn't get this when I read 228, so thanks for bringing it up. But does now the enforcement not include Montgomery County? Now it's strictly Poolesville?
If we cannot find resolve with it by just meeting with the homeowner and explaining the proper terms, we could then involve Montgomery County, which is
Oh.
typical we do with all code enforcement from any type of
Yeah.
enforcement.
Now, the thing is, when I read about Montgomery County, they were saying that they're not going to come out and enforce a municipality's regulations. But what they will do, if the animal is abused, I don't remember words again.
Bird health in general is a different department of Montgomery County that is not incorporated in this ordinance, and they would support and enforce that.
Yeah.
So they would enforce if there's
Yeah.
neglect or.
It's 2 different things, yes.
Yeah, two things. So they're not going to come out with a tape measure and say, well, you don't follow pools.
Correct.
One's animal control, one's zoning.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
the,
different issue.
the zoning authority is ours. So these, even under the previous ordinance, the 100-foot setback was something that we had to, under zoning authority, write up the permit for. There are different questions about the health and wellness of birds. That is not our jurisdiction. That is the county's there.
And is it your understanding that Montgomery County Animal Control will continue to respond to questions about the welfare of the birds?
That is our understanding.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very good.
So one more quick question.
Thanks, Matt.
And it's just so I'm clear about this. So let's say, I'll just make up a fictitious thing. My neighbor has a chicken coop, and they put it too close to my yard. I call Poolesville?
Yep. And that is what has happened under the current ordinance as well.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a complaint like that, we have to investigate that because that is a zoning issue, not a health and wellness issue.
That's like a permit issue. Do you-
Yes,
Permitting
correct.
is- Right, a permitting
Correct.
zoning.
Permitting is zoning for our purposes.
Okay, thanks, Nels.
Is that it for Jeff for this, for now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, Matt, thanks again for coming up, though. Appreciate it. Rebecca, come on up. Bring as many chairs as you feel are necessary.
One is sufficient, thank you. Rebecca McKeela, 17029 Tom Fox Avenue. So I just briefly want to speak tonight. I want to thank you guys for revisiting the chicken ordinance. I get the sense that you are ready to move on to other things, and that's great. Hopefully this gives us closure. We as a group are very pleased to see support for adjusting the adjacent dwelling setback to 50 feet and the coop square footage to 2 square feet per hen. If you want my help with the information that we had on 2 square feet being appropriate in this climate, I'd be happy to provide that. Just let me know if you want me to send some resources along. We absolutely believe that these revisions will open the door for more residents to be able to keep chickens, which, you know, even thinking back to a year ago, I really think was your intent. So also in line with Poolesville sustainability efforts. So thank you guys. We do expect this to be the last time you reevaluate the ordinance for some time. So we do want to ensure all aspects of the ordinance have been adequately considered. We appreciate your acknowledging our desire for increasing the hen limit at your last commissioners meeting and are looking forward to the conversation about the hen limit tonight. I want to continue to advocate for an adjustment to the hen limit for properties under 1 acre in size. In order to keep a few laying hens, our number of hens needs to ebb and flow above 6 hens. I've previously shared some facts motivating this conversation, such as the need to introduce 3 to 4 chickens at a time for safety of the young chicks, the fragility and frequent incorrect sexing of chicks, older non-laying hens retiring with the flock, the susceptibility of hens to sudden illness and death, and a hen's need to live with a flock of multiple other hens in order to be happy. It's difficult to humanely care for hens with a maximum of 6. We care about our hens and want to responsibly provide them with a safe and happy living environment. As they live in a fully enclosed setting, increasing the hen limit will have no impact on our neighbors, except for the happy benefit of occasionally getting a few extra fresh eggs. Despite raising backyard hens, greater than 50% of the eggs that our family consumes each week come from the grocery store. Considering our coop and run are large enough for more hens, we would like to be more self-sufficient in producing the majority of the eggs we consume. By raising the number of the hens permitted in the ordinance to 10 hens, the hens would be safer and families would be able to be more self-sufficient. I also want to respond to what Mr. Matt here had to say. I'm not sure, maybe I'm missing something. I'm not sure why there's any additional cost for the town. There really, I think, are only a handful of residents that will keep birds that haven't been able to. And yeah, so maybe I'm missing something, but I'm not sure there's an increase. And it's really been going well there. You guys have said that there haven't been a ton of complaints. And so I really don't think this is impacting many people. And the people currently that have neighbors with chickens, it's going well. So just emphasizing that. And also responding to the coop size being 2 feet. We actually, my husband and I were outside this weekend doing some work in the run. And so we had them in the coop for, I don't know, an hour. And they were not happy in there. They have, I don't know, 6-8 square feet. I'd have to do the math. They have tons of space in there. They're not used to being in there during the day. And so they were like, why are we in here? Get us out of here. They have tons of space in the run, and that's where they want to be. That's where birds in this climate are during the day. They are out. They are in the run the whole day, probably 98% of daylight hours. They are in the run. They're not in the coop. I do think that residents are probably going to go to Tractor Supply and get the coop that advertises saying, hey, this holds up to 10 birds, and they'll put 6 birds in there and not really check the square footage. So just looking at what might be realistic in terms of setting. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, questions from the commissioners? Nothing? Awesome. Thanks for bringing your family up here again.
Sure.
We appreciate it. It's good to see them. All right, nobody else has signed up. Nobody's online. That is it for this public hearing. That's closed. Appreciate that. Again, the record closes at 4 o'clock this Friday coming up. All right, commissioners' announcements and committee reports. Sarah, since I know we've got a longer topic for you, we're going to wait till the end and give you some time. And then, so if Jeff, you want to kick us off?
I would, yes, thank you. I attended the Poolesville Spring Fest on Saturday, May the 4th. I want to congratulate Tara Schultz, Kathy Bupp, Preston's team, and I know a lot of the town staff were involved with that, so honestly, I think the organization and the execution far outshined the weather, and it was just a fantastic event, so thank you very much. And also that we had some notable visitors. We had Andrew Friedson from the Montgomery County Council, Marilyn Balcombe from District 2, I think she is, councilwoman from Montgomery County. We also had Lily Chi, is it Chi?
Gee,
From the Maryland State Representative, and they all had a good time, and so I really appreciate seeing them there at the Spring Fest. And I will be attending the HMD, the Historic Medley District Dinner, on May the 9th at the Valley Cliff Farm. Looking forward to that. The Upper Montgomery County Volunteer Fire Department has their pork and beef sales that started in April. The next one is Saturday, May the 18th from 11 until sold out, so please come early. You can dine in at the pavilion or have your meal for takeaway. Please come early. Selling out can happen as early as 2 or 3 o'clock. The Upper Montgomery softball season has started. The games are played at the softball field behind the fire station, and everyone is welcome to come and watch the softball games and enjoy the delicious offerings at the concession stand, including hot dogs, hamburgers, soft drinks, and more. Spectators are welcome to bring their own chairs or enjoy the picnic tables under the pavilion. All proceeds benefit the Upper Montgomery County Volunteer Fire Department. I attended the BOE Board of Education debate on April the 24th, hosted by the Fair Access Committee. It was very informative link, so thank you for that. At the Memorial United Methodist Church. There were, 12 Board of Education candidates. And although it was called a debate, it wasn't really a debate. It was answering the questions that Fair Access Committee had prepared, and I was quite impressed by a number of the answers by the candidates, so I already prepared my list of who I'm going to support. The Parks Board will welcome Christina Carr on May the 8th for her first meeting at the Parks Board, so we'll welcome Christina. And the next Parks Board meeting is Wednesday, May the 8th at 7 o'clock. I kind of combined my information here about the Parks Board, and the agenda includes the ISKCON parade. That's the ISKCON is International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The agenda also includes, that's on July the 20th in the afternoon and the evening, and they have a request for a street parade, which I'm not keen about, on Fisher Avenue with traffic. I guess we'll talk about that later, hopefully. There's also a Trails Working Group and a Sidewalk Priority. Since sidewalks were an important component last month, I made this whole report about sidewalks, but in the interest of time, I'll probably try and make it a little bit shorter. Priority 1 sidewalks is going to be near a school or where there is no existing sidewalk. Priority 2 is where the sidewalk needs to be widening. The American Disability Act requires the sidewalk be 5 foot wide. In some of our older areas, they do not comply with that. Additionally, the ADA requirements require, you have sidewalk slabs that are, near each other, of course, and you have slab. And sometimes the tree will push some up or push some down, and if there's a difference of a quarter inch, then Preston either digs the whole thing up and pours a new one, or it goes out there with a machine and try and gets it even Steven. Or in the worst case, I guess, chop the tree down. I don't know. I guess that would be the worst case. So there are, Preston's team is on that. They're doing grinding and other work to make sure that the slabs are, within compliance for ADA. There's a number of areas that are on the list that in some of the cases are just outside where, the town does not own the road, like from Elizabeth to Light over to the bus stop. And always, I see the kids lining up there and the bus is on the other side of the road, and it just always kind of makes me cringe a little bit. Also, Willard Green, oh, sorry, that's a different topic. That name was approved by the commissioners. The principal of the high school has requested crosswalks and sidewalk, and so I understand, John, I don't see him here, Mr. Strong is working with,
Yeah, we have a quick update on that.
Oh, please,
Just-
yes.
Just want to jump in. So the school has added a sidewalk to the side on Wooten and West Willard. There's a little path now up using a wooden sort of bridge up, and then we are working on, hopefully within the next week or two, doing that crosswalk. So it will be part of the parking painting that is going to take place in some of the townhouses at the same time. We'll also repaint that sidewalk, and we're going to add the flashers to there as well.
will that involve the flashing light?
Yes,
Oh,
correct.
that's great, that's super, thank you very much. So that was, that was very important. What else do I have here? Yeah, so that's what, along West Willard?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about all that. Okay, that saves me a whole paragraph. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so my next thing was, I attended the Sound of Music performance. That the Sound of Music performance was a high school production, but it was really at the middle school because the auditorium at the high school is being renovated, I guess, or torn down. And I thought the production was just super duper, and it included students not only from the high school but from the middle school and also from Poolesville Elementary and Mockasey Elementary. I'm telling you, those kids, you could. So I sent a little note here. I won't read the whole thing. I sent a note to Principal Carruthers congratulating him on the success of the performance and the fact that it included the high school kids and the middle school kids and the elementary school kids. And he sent me a note back to this. I thought I'd share a little bit with this with you. I wanted to thank you for your kind words about Sound of Music. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Your incredibly thoughtful message was shared with Mr. Bauman, the drama director, so he could share it with the cast and crew. And this is the most important part. I'm also glad to see you had a glimpse of what makes school so special. Each and every day, I'm reminded of the promise of our future. It's wonderful to block out the outside noise and actually work with future generations. I know we are in good hands for many years to come. From Principal Carruthers.
Great.
That's everything.
Wow, he sounds just a little bitter there, but that was good. I'm glad.
There was no bitterness.
No, I just, good to work with people that are friendly and nice, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm glad, though, and it was a nice letter for you to write, Jeff, and it's great to hear from the principal. And yes, they do involve the entire community in their productions, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's, just shows what that new high school and the impact of the all-new auditorium is going to be like. I said, we were in it, and it's going to be, it's going to be unbelievable. So it's going to carry the whole community. All right, thank you for that, Martin.
I'll be brief. I was also at Springfest. I think we were all there. It was, I echo Jeff's sentiments. It was really, really well done. I think Tara's come on board and shown that she's ready to roll her sleeves up and get it done. She did a great job. So thanks to everyone, all the volunteers and the staff. It was great. I don't have any announcements for the Planning Commission. We meet a week from Wednesday, and haven't seen an agenda yet on that. I will update you that Chuck Stump, our planning commissioner, is hiking the Appalachian Trail, and he's already in North Carolina.
Wow.
And he's doing this, and he's going to zoom in for all the meetings too. And knowing Chuck, he will be prepared, and
He's had lots of time to meditate.
I'm probably glad I'm glad Zoom doesn't have a smell function, but it'll be good to see him, and congratulations to him, because as far as I'm concerned, even if he stopped tomorrow, this is like a huge accomplishment.
It's amazing.
So that's all I've got.
Yeah, Martin, just to verify and quantify, the planning commission's approved the comprehensive plan with amendments, correct?
Yes.
Very good, so.
Can I make one more quick, and
Yes,
just
sir.
to jump
Go
on
for
what
it.
Martin said?
Yeah.
The other day, right before Springfest, maybe it was the day before, I don't know, and the Kaliva folks were out there with their climbing wall, and they were kind of driving around figuring out, they couldn't quite figure out where to go. So I think I texted Niles and Wade, and like within 2 seconds, Tara was out there showing them where to put it. So he is
Good.
on the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a lot of energy. We're going to wear that down.
Yeah, and a challenging way to start, too, with a
Yeah.
rainy, cold, chilly day. So,
Right.
but it was great.
Yeah. Good points, guys. Mr. Ed?
All right, in terms of sustainable Poolesville, now I was not able to attend the last meeting because I was attending the Board of Education debate. However, at that meeting, one of the key things that was discussed is that we're very close to submitting our information for the sustainable Maryland certification piece, and that we are close to hitting the silver award. And so I think there's a strong possibility that that would get taken care of and we'll get there.
You know what the criteria for that might be?
Yeah, there's a whole packet
Oh.
of different categories, and so different people within the committee are assigned different sections to work on. And then I believe they'll pass that over to Niles, and then once all that information is put in, and basically what happened is that there's a lot of things that we have been doing as a town that we might not have realized fits in additional categories. And so taking a real good look at all those other things that we just do
Nice.
and how it fits in. And
Get
so when
credit
we
for
had,
them,
get
yeah.
credit for those, because we had a gentleman come out from the state to work with us probably about 2 months ago. And we went through the whole packet, item by item, and we began to talk about what are the different things that would have, for example, you look at Jason Wooden's project that he did over there at the pond.
Oh, yeah.
Where it picks up the extra fish line.
Yes.
That's something that's
Oh, yeah.
environmental because Parks was helping with that. That fits within through that partnership. Or we look at the pollinator garden. So some of those projects. Another thing that's really cool is being able to catalog some of the different little library pieces that are
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
out. And so if we get involved with that, saying here's a map of what that looks like. Those are examples. So it's
Didn't
really
he also do little bluebird houses or something house?
the bat boxes.
Was
So
that
that's-
one?
the bat box is another kid's who just got his Eagle Scout.
Oh, okay.
On behalf of the commissioners, so speaking of that, there's another young man got his Eagle Scout award,
Oh.
and he did something outside of Poolesville, but in the ag reserves, he put together a team, and they built bat boxes
Oh,
to go after pests.
Oh,
And so there's a lot of great things happening
Natural
in
mosquito
Poolesville. And
so
so
to
I was-
encourage a bat to
yeah,
live in that box and then go eat some flies.
exactly. And so I did represent commissioners at his Eagle Scout Award about 2 weeks ago. And so I was able to speak on our behalf and congratulate him on behalf of all of us.
Super.
Next meeting will be third Wednesday of May for the Sustainable Poolesville. And so that's it. That's all I have.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
Is just that the zero waste survey is still ongoing. If people want to find that, it's on our website, and it was in the email I sent out last Friday. So there's still time to respond to that if you haven't. We've gotten a pretty good response. We have about 75 responses right now. So just if people want to, so.
Okay, can I ask, I'm sorry, I should have something
Yeah.
just ticked in my mind. Regarding the, the flashing lights. I don't know if it was yourself or maybe it was Preston said there were $15,000. Do we need to vote on that?
No, that's already in the budget.
Oh, that's fabulous, great, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more. And also, I was able to, I've been away at a conference since Friday, early Friday morning, Saturday, Sunday, but I did sneak away from the conference to come over to spend a little time here at Springfest, and I echo the comments that were previously made in terms of a great job despite the weather.
Yep.
So look forward to the next one.
Worked out well, I think.
All right.
Okay, so Sarah will kick off in just a minute here, but I'll go through mine just quickly. So I too, like the rest of my fellow commissioners, attended Drink Fest on Saturday, and it was a great time. And, we closed the place out for the most part, so that was good. The usual call came out at, since it closes at 7, at 6:30, I was surrounded by people requesting that once again I authorize a continuation of it to 8 o'clock. But luckily, the vendors were already running out at that point, so the Poolesville cognoscenti had to go to other locations to keep it rolling that night, so.
After party?
Yeah,
Hopefully
after,
everybody drove home safely.
yeah, walked, yeah, yeah,
With the
class,
local businesses?
right, the classic walk. So anyway, that was, I made that mistake like 5 years ago, and some people don't forget it. In fact, they search me out, and, they're like, you can do this. No, I can't. So anyway, that was a great day. And again, like all the commissioners said, and thank you to everybody that was there, that was schmoozing, that was meeting with our people that need to see us shine. You did a great job as usual, and it's great to see all the commissioners up on all the issues and able to speak to our fellow elected officials about them and make a difference. So that was great. Wanted to thank everybody that's already given us input on that came through email for our chicken code changes. Appreciate everybody speaking up and sending us their input, and everybody will get a response if they haven't already. The other day, Lincoln, I went to Hood College, and you probably saw in the pictures on my Facebook post went to review what their hood bubble, their pool bubble looks like. Yeah, and their pool bubble at Hood looks like, and we have to admit, we were amazed. It was quite a structure, steel, nylon, definitely heating and air conditioning, pool heating, retrofitted. It was an outdoor pool, so.
Goes on and off?
It
It was
does
retro,
not.
no, it does not. It's, yeah. So we're
It
gonna
would be a permanent, like, structural change.
right.
Oh, it's a year-round bubble.
That one is, but that's
Ours
not,
wouldn't be.
not necessarily what we
We're
would be
lobbying
doing.
for is not.
Right.
Right.
But it was still a great learning experience. Same vendors that do the same things. We had some late input tonight on that as well. But it was just good to go and see how they operated it, how they did it, what their highs were, their lows, how air was moved, the design changes that have taken place already since it was built in 2012. Spent a couple hours with a guy, had a lot of, it just was very generous with his time, and we learned a lot. So Link will be playing that out to the Fair Access Committee, and then we're going to be taking some further steps on that with cooperation with Montgomery County Rec. Link and I met with Councilmember Balcom for coffee the other morning, kind of a regular thing that we're trying to do with her, just to talk to her about all the angles of everything that's going on. A lot of moving parts at Montgomery County Council these days, so it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Some of this stuff can't talk about in public yet, but happy to approach any of the commissioners on it to have a further discussion. But the council is moving forward in a lot of ways. Of course, we were lobbying, again, for WUMCO money as well as to solidify our position for the community/rec center. This morning, Wade, Niles, and I had a preliminary meeting with M&T just to talk about the possibility of M&T's community reinvestment financing, bringing some of that money to Poolesville to help us potentially with the grocery co-op as well as with Riverworks. So it was just more or less a get to meet again, everybody, have a conversation, but it was on Zoom, and we'll be meeting in person, and we'll let you guys know what it is so that anybody can attend if they want to. But again, that'll probably be preliminary meeting part 2 before we really get into something a lot tighter. We have asked, we are forwarding them information to talk about the co-op and also what Riverworks fundraising and where Riverworks and their pro forma stands, their lending status, et cetera. So we'll get all that together, get that back in their hands, and then have further discussions with them. But they definitely want to be involved, and they like what we're doing, and they actually commented town staff and talked about how well-run and how conservatively managed we are at the town of Poolesville. So I hate to see what unconservatively managed looks like. But that's never going to be us, so we don't have to worry about it. Congrats to the Fair Access Committee for the Board of Education Forum. Gotten a lot of views on YouTube. People paid attention to it. I've had a lot of people ask me about, who would I consider voting for? And I said, just go watch that, and here's some other resources points. And I put all that on Facebook today, so you could click through and see what you think about the candidates. Link and I met with Joe Vogel, who is, obviously one of the headliners running for Congress right now. And it was interesting meeting with him. and learned a lot about his personal positioning on things. Obviously, a solid young man and running an unbelievable campaign. It stirred up a lot of interest and angst, I would say. So he's definitely a difference maker. It was great to meet with him. I met him before. In fact, Ed and I sat with him at a table
He
sometimes.
came to our breakfast.
Yeah, and came to our
marched in the
breakfast.
parade.
Marched in the parade, yeah.
In September.
Yeah, so he's trying to
Come
build.
out here a couple times.
Right, trying to build his Poolesville bona fides.
Mm-hmm.
So good for him. Did the WOMCO appreciation meeting, dinner
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks ago, but then we did the other one, our volunteer appreciation dinner, which was great, just, last Friday, odd night to have it, or whatever night it was, but still had a good time with it. Good to see everybody, and totally appreciate all of our volunteers and everything they do for us, and especially the activeness of our Poolesville seniors. They're, when you get their newsletter, you see how much stuff they have going on. It's amazing. So that's probably the best bang for the buck in Poolesville is what those guys do. Anyway, that's all I have for my announcements. And anything else? Nope. Any questions? What's wrong? What did I say? I was going to be brief and I wasn't.
Kettler snuck in here and thinks he's gonna.
It's harassing staff.
Are you? Is he? Do you want to get on the sign-up sheet because that public hearing's over with for the chickens?
No.
A chicken in every
I'm after, I'm the next, just public comment.
a chicken in every pot, according to Tom Kettler.
Not dear.
Well, maybe deer too. All right, good. Thanks. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution. Now, Sarah, you're up.
Yes, thank you. So just adding to what everyone has said about Springfest, I don't want to belabor the point, but I had several comments that night at another event at how amazed everyone was at how the vendors and the town staff did not tear up the grass after Springfest, even though it was very wet and mushy. So add that to your kudos. Great job for keeping the Wayland Commons still looking smooth and green afterwards. That's no small feat. Okay, first let me just talk about Fair Access Committee. The muster email campaign that we had over the last couple of weeks was very effective. We're getting lots of positive feedback from our county council members, and we are optimistic, but we know it's never in the bag until it's actually voted for, that we're going to get those votes for the community center and the WUMCO funding. So if you haven't written an email yet, there's still time, and we encourage community members to continue to write those emails. We had our Board of Education debate that several people have referred to. It was not very well attended in person, but the YouTube views have been, it has had quite a few YouTube views, and when Link has been meeting with members from the county council and other Board of Education candidates, has gotten some great feedback on how thoughtful the questions were and how great the format was, and that they also have had a lot of feedback from people who are watching it and talking to them. So sometimes the way these things go, not quite what we expect, but it was still really a positive experience. I feel like one of our learning takeaway moments from that is, how do we reach residents more effectively? You know, we did all the traditional avenues. We put it on Facebook. We know it went out in an email to residents. I'm not sure. That's something we're still sort of racking our brains over, because we did get a lot of verbal comment from residents saying, oh, I didn't know that this was going on. Or after the fact, when we posted on Facebook, people saying, oh, I didn't know this was going on. So, yeah, we're not sure if there's anything we can do differently in the future. But
It's always a challenge sometimes.
Right.
yeah, to reach people. I don't know what the answer is, but you know, we
LED
we
sign
want
on the
to reach
water
as many
tower.
people as possible, right? We want everyone to know and to come, but
Serve
Yeah.
alcohol.
yeah. So the
Well,
electronic
and-
sign was not working at that point, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And,
No, that's a really great point, Link. I
Yeah.
think that might have made a big difference.
and that will be, they're going to pour the footage for the new one this week. So we'll make some progress there as well.
Okay. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but we had one of the circuit court judge candidates also there as well. And I feel like we don't get many of those. So that was kind of exciting.
That's one way to
Oh,
put
yeah,
it.
that's, I was wondering who that was.
Did you meet him?
Yeah, that's who he was, right, yeah, I was wondering, that guy's somebody.
He's like, I keep hearing about Poolesville. I've never been up here, so I thought, well, I better get on up here.
Yeah,
It looked like Sergeant Pepper's, honestly, the way he was dressed.
yeah, he did. That was pretty cool.
Well, that was great. I commend him for making the journey, and that was great for having him up here.
Great.
Yep. Our next Fair Access meeting on May 16th is a listening session. We have been emailing nonprofits, stakeholders in not only Poolesville, but in the greater Ag Reserve, encouraging folks, and residents are also welcome. We want to hear as much feedback as possible as we kind of determine what the next priorities for Fair Access Committee are. And then we'll obviously bring that to the commissioners, and we can kind of decide what our strategy is going forward. All right, that is all I have for Fair Access updates. I want to read the first couple paragraphs of a memo that I sent out to all the commissioners before this meeting for the public record's sake. This is a proposal for a commemorative flag policy. All right, as the government of our community, our job is to safeguard the well-being of our community, including those who might be most at risk for harm. From youth who are perceived as different or may experience bullying to adults who may feel like outsiders in the community, our goal should be to send a message to each and every one of the members of our community: you are valued, you are safe, and there's a place for you here in Poolesville. One way that we can do that is by sending a strong public message of inclusivity and belonging through the public waving of commemorative flags designed to honor, celebrate, and spark communication and education. While the American flag sets forth the ideals of liberty and justice for all, sadly, this has not been the experience for everyone, including our disabled veterans, children born with neurological conditions such as Down syndrome and autism, recent immigrants, and racial minorities. Placing a commemorative flag honoring and bringing awareness to a specific group of people recognizes them as our friends and neighbors and says, you too, in a way that some folks may not have experienced historically or currently. Working hand in hand with the Up County Prevention Network, local PTAs, and other educational and support groups, these could be opportunities to strengthen existing wellness-related programs, establish new relationships, and build community. Focusing on the whole array of people who make up our community strengthens our bonds and helps us combat challenges like bullying, vandalism, and mental health struggles that could and often do divide us. These flags may spark some uncomfortable conversations. Our goal is not to shame anyone. Our goal is to spark curiosity about the experience of others and facilitate opportunities to learn and grow together. As we seek to become a community that celebrates art, music, theater, and creativity, it is our responsibility to set a tone that invites and encourages diversity and inclusivity. And then I have a handful of, suggestions for town staff as they consider drafting what this policy could look like. In the short run, I was really hoping that we could move forward with the spirit of this policy. For June 1st, the month of June is Pride Month, and in recognition of all of our LGBTQIA members, I would love for us to be able to put pride flags on the light posts along Fisher Avenue, kind of like we do for Memorial Day and Veterans Day with those, the flags that recognize the different veterans in our town. And so I'd love for us to have a conversation about that part today. I think the rest of it, we don't necessarily need to try to move forward at all, because I think the staff, I would, or at least could we come to an agreement that this is something that we'd like for the staff to look into and come back to us with a proposal. So those are my kind of two asks. Thoughts?
Well, thank you for bringing that up and for sending it over this morning. And I know we've had previous discussions on this, and appreciate you always advocating. So that's a role of a commissioner. I'm open the floor to the other commissioners on this. I think that we'd have to have some practical considerations for what could happen quickly if we decided that we wanted to make some sort of move that way. And then I do appreciate, and I would definitely agree to a longer-term discussion about a awareness slash cause commemorative way that the town can handle things. So I'm up for that discussion for a later time. I think that, we, with Pride Month right around the corner, we have to have some sort of discussion if the town wants to make some sort of movement that way. The only thing I would say is, I said I'd open up the floor, but now I'm talking. The only further discussion I'd like to have on that is just a couple baseline moves. I'm not sure how it could work for the telephone poles, only because, I know you know that the town doesn't actually pay for those commemorative banners. They're paid for by the American Legion, and then the members make a contribution to the American Legion, and then the American Legion covers the cost for the rest of it. So that's just something to consider when we're thinking about the actual who buys, how fast can something be acquired.
Do they pay for the American flags too, that go in?
The town pays
We
for
have
the
those.
You pay for
flags,
those?
right, yeah. So,
When we were first ordering pride flags, I'll just throw this out there, for Poolesville Day last year, there were a lot of websites that actually, they're free. You could, we got 12 full-size pride flags for free. So I think that's something that we could help source for a very affordable amount, if not for free. And if needed be, we could, I think it's possible that we could get the funds for it. So, but I think it's good to consider the financial cost, yeah.
just throwing it out there
Yeah.
as a baseline discussion point.
Yeah.
Well, I think I emailed everybody about this, but, Sarah and I were talking at Springfest, and I know a lot of people, it'd be, find it controversial to run a pride flag up right below the American flag or whatever. I get that. And so Sarah and I kind of came up with the idea of maybe we don't go that route. Maybe we just put them in the, where we put the American flags, maybe just the length of the commons or something like that, just for the month or whatever, just to sort of do everything that Sarah just alluded to in that well-thought-out piece she read. So yeah, I'm supportive of that. I would want to have a policy. I wouldn't want to rush the pride flags out and then have other people wanting to put their own flags out that maybe aren't in the best interest of the town or whatever. I think it's got to be like Sarah said in her message. It's got to be the government approved. It's not just a free for all, and so we need a policy. I'm all for trying to get it done by June 1st if we can, if we can put a policy together and everything. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
I would just like to add a little bit of, no, I haven't seen it done here, and maybe that's just because folks don't know about it, but when I lived in Belgium, there was quite a celebration, and I don't know if it was Pride Week or Pride Month, I don't know about that so much, but what they did there was not every single crosswalk, but some of the crosswalks, which are usually just white, black, white, black, white, black, they were made into colors.
That's cool.
And so I thought that was kind of different, and somehow it just, I don't know, went away or rubbed off, I don't know what the story was. But then also there was quite an elaborate parade, which was great fun to attend. And I don't know if you're talking about so much a parade. And I know that there were pride flags, but I couldn't exactly say if they were in front of because there was a giant, what do you call it, where the king lives, a castle or something. And I can't remember if that was on top there, because the flag there means he's in a residence or not in residence, so I don't know about that, in front of government buildings. But I know there was a certain walkway that had all just sorts of banners on it, and all those were changed to pride flags. And again, I don't remember the length of time, whether it was a week or a month. So I don't know if there's a rule on government buildings about pride flags or not. I don't know. I would certainly be supportive of having a pride flag. I don't know where it would go. There's 3 poles out there. I couldn't say where it belongs, but I think that would be, a good idea. Yeah.
First of all, those are great suggestions. I love the idea of painting walkways rainbow colors. That's really festive. I know that at the executive's office in Rockville and in Silver Spring, they have added additional fittings to the flagpole so that they could wave more than one flag at
Oh, yeah.
once.
Yep.
And I just put in my proposal that we could look into something like that, or we could look into adding additional poles. I'm open to however we want to
Yeah, the other thing.
forward with that. I think there's different ways.
Yeah, the other thing, and I kind of concede a little bit of, I don't know if Jim Brown was making this point or not, but at the Parks meeting, and this, I'm just using this strictly as an example, that the IshCon folks want to do a parade. Now, I don't want to get off the wrong topic here, but I'm not in favor of a parading on Fisher Avenue with traffic. That's a whole different story. And so I don't know if the IshCon, the Hare Krishna folks would want to raise a flag. I mean, I just don't know where the boundary.
So, and that's why, and again, I said that on the points underneath that I didn't read out loud today,
Yeah.
that it would not, the policy would have to include that these flags could not be religious, could not be political,
Oh.
but were simply to honor and recognize community members. So it might be like a flag celebrating Black History Month, or it might be a flag celebrating Autism Acceptance Month, something like that, so that we are acknowledging.
UWMIA.
Yeah.
Right, yep.
Who, and in this vision that you have, who would staff decide what was appropriate, or would we vote
I
on
think
it?
as commissioners, we would have to determine, and I think there are nationally recognized sort of months, right? Like Indigenous peoples in the month of November. So throughout the year, they're already, through the federal government and through our state, sort of designated times to honor or raise awareness around different either ideas or communities, but they're not political or religious in any way. They are simply celebrating what I would call people, right?
Oh, I have, as I'm listening to it, and I didn't have a chance to read and do all the, go through all the emails, I saw them pop up.
Yeah.
I think there is a caution of a slippery slope in terms of having very clear guidelines,
Yeah.
right, on how things are set up. Because if you have one group and say, hey, we want to be able to do this, and we want to be able to put something up, what does that criteria look like to be fair and consistent? Let's say you have a group that says, hey, we want to put a BLM
I mean, that's the
flag.
whole point, is it's not groups coming and saying, I want to put up our flag.
Or you say
right?
you want a Black Lives Matter for Black History's Month. You know, so
Well, we as a government would decide, what are we recognizing?
and then the
And
I
it's not a
feel
free
this-
speech, it's not
Right.
an issue of free speech, right?
And then I'm just looking down the road as the faces and seats here change.
Yeah.
Right, is what precedent might be set. So I go back and say, okay, what might, and even if it's this body that makes that decision,
Right.
what's the criteria that this body would use
Yeah, for sure.
to make that? Because you can have new faces with new ideologies and new thinking that say, well, hey, we agree this meets this, and so what can be, there could be something, that's why I say it could be a slippery slope. Now, I haven't dove all the way into
Right.
all the possibilities yet, but I will. When, I guess with June coming up, when Pride Month coming up, I think that there's something as a town that we should do to honor and show support. We have to figure out what does that look like. I appreciate Jim's lead on what he did during African American History Month when we had different people come up and speak. So I think that's something to look at. How do we provide that kind of support and what that might look like? I think that with the flags, I think that the flags tend to represent more of your the American flag is the American flag. I think your county flag is your county. More of your represents your government, And so, I don't know, I would want to take a closer look. Like, for example, for me personally, I wouldn't be in favor of some folks who like to continue to wave the Confederate flag. That's not a flag I enjoy. It's not a flag I would support.
Nope.
You know, but I know some of my neighbors who do have it in their yard. That's their business. You know, but you have different groups who have different views around different pieces. So I don't know, I would want to take
and
a,
that's exactly why I think having a policy.
yeah, I think
something
policy is
consistent.
critical. I think a policy is critical, criteria. It would be interesting to look at other municipalities
Yeah.
to see what kind of structures they have in place. I could think about whatever we set up, whatever policy set up, it also has to be strong enough, whereas if you say, okay, we'll do this group's flag for this month, and then you have other person says, well, hey, we want to have this flag flown, so that goes back to that criteria, it has to
Yeah.
be really tight, because once you say, no, we don't think that represents this, we got to make sure, because I don't want to be in a position where we're fighting lawsuits saying that we're discriminating against this group because we all feel that this is appropriate, we feel this one is not appropriate.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Sarah, did you, when you looked into this, did you find, do other governments have like very set policies, like with clear guidelines? You know?
So when I spoke to, for example, Evan Glass, he said as a county, it was just a decision that they made to send a message in support of the queer community. No set policy. They're not worried about it being a slippery
They
slope.
put it at the county council building.
It waves in front of the executive's office all month of June, also in Silver Spring. They have a whole flag raising ceremony, 1st of June. They didn't feel like there was a need for an official policy because anytime you decide to wave a flag, it's just the opinion of the government. So if we felt like it was something that we wanted to waive, we could. I found a handful of towns, like small towns, that had specific policies.
Right.
I'm hoping that Wade and Niles will
Do some
have
research.
more connection and detective skills than I had. I know that they, waved the pride flag at all foreign embassies as part of our international commitment to protecting queer communities overseas. So I don't know. There's examples of where, for example, pride flags are waved all over the place. I think it's just what we decide, how we decide to approach any type of commemorative flag like this. And I can appreciate the value of some type of a consistent criteria and policy for us to refer back to in making this decision. Yeah. So I think we'd be I think there would be the digging and looking for examples, but I think ultimately we would need to be just deciding the criteria that we want to use.
Well, I think there's a lot out there. I spent a couple hours on it actually today,
Yeah.
looking at what townships have done and other municipalities, and it's an interesting mix. Again, just like you said, the Montgomery County decided to move forward with it with some input, but they made their own decision on behalf of their residents. They are elected officials, so that is what they're allowed to do. And there's other places that have run into the issue of groups that want to propose flags that they would be opposed to, that have had essentially met all the criteria that would be the same, that would be included for allowing a pride flag to be flown. So it was a difficult story, and it was divisive for those towns to have to make those decisions. And not against, being divisive if it's the right thing to do. But that's what was run across. So when town staff goes into it, you can look into it. It said it was a couple hours of just, Google research on this. I would think, and I'm trying to figure out a way, and Ed, I appreciate you bringing it up, because it's not, I didn't need a reminder of what we did for Black History Month, but we felt it was important to recognize it. And I think at a minimum that we have to, I'd like to kick off our June meeting with official recognition of Pride Month, have a presentation from the appropriate people or persons that wanted to make a presentation. I mean, we could provide the guides for what we'd be looking for, and have the town officially recognized through either proclamation or through some sort of declaration that the town recognizes Pride Month, as well as the inclusivity that is such a critical factor in what Pride Month really means. So, and you remember last year, I was the only one that guessed it right off the bat. What's coming up in 2 months? I know exactly what it is, and I'm looking forward to creating something, whatever we reach, that gives that. I'm not so hung up on the awareness, but I am hung up on that. The inclusivity factor is critical. We have to make our residents know that we're inclusive and that we appreciate everybody that's here.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out a way to do that. I know I'm adding to the flag conversation on this. One thing I did want to bring up was that while I do believe that our 3 flags out front are government-based and not necessarily government advocacy-based, but they're strictly government-based, I'm not opposed to pride flags flying in different parts of our town. I would like to encourage our residents to show it and not be afraid to show their support for any of the causes that make sense to them, but especially with Pride Month coming up. And I wouldn't mind entertaining as part of our general conversation that potentially that we create some sort of flag designation place, say on our band shell that's high and proud where it is, and have that be potentially our commemorative flag area. Something like that, where it's still here at Whalen Commons, it's still part of our government piece here, and that it's something that actually has a better chance of standing out and being recognized by, our residents. So that's my little tidbit throw out there on it. But I would want, we do have to come up with an official policy, because we are going to end up potentially, who knows, there's only 12 months, and there's going to be more than 12 causes. So we need to be able to think about how we would do that display. So that's my little flag olive branch, because only due to the time constraints of where we are right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
What do you think about the idea of the crosswalk?
I just worry about the cost of town.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea what that might be.
And I'm not saying cost isn't the end-all be-all for inclusivity. I get that, but I'm not opposed to it.
I think that if you were to consider something like that, I would just advise maybe take a look at use chalk paint, of course, but much like we do parades or races or whatever, those people have to come and they actually get permission and where they're going to place the markings and how they're going to place the markings. They go to the Parks and Streets Board to do that. I think it'd be a process like that.
I do, and it brings up a good point, not to change off from the chalk, but I do like the idea of, and you guys feel free to chime in, maybe I'm off base, but one of the things that I think is important is that we have beyond just a commissioner saying, and I appreciate the awareness, a commissioner saying, I think this is a good idea, because we're all supposed to do that. But it is helpful to have groups and recognize groups that are potentially even chartered, and I'm not even sure what Poolesville Pride is or isn't, but I know that, we could flip a switch and they could be fully organized. But have groups that also help create the advocacy within the town to have these awareness displays. Mm-hmm. Because I think that shows the backing of the community in more ways than just one individual. And again, I appreciate you bringing it up and bringing it to the forefront.
Right.
But instead of just having one person say, we should do this, it's a good idea. It is a good idea. And we should do this. But I think having a group behind it is important.
Did you guys get the 4 emails that came in this afternoon? Charlotte
Yes.
Boucher
Yeah, Sam.
and
one
Sam
from
and
Sam.
Jonathan and Yair.
Yeah.
I read 2. I got Charlotte's and Sam came in last, I think.
And then Jonathan and Yair came after
I
that.
haven't read those
A
yet.
couple came in as the meeting was starting.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
I appreciate it. I've read them. I've read
Yeah.
them here. They were good. Sam's was, as usual, super eloquent, very well spoken, very well advocated. And I would say this, that too, and I'm not only, you know, I've had discussions on this for the last few months, is, would have been nice for this a little sooner. And so we could really, we could tackle this and kind of get it under
Yeah.
control a little bit. And I know things move in slow ways, and, you know, we just had to recognize Poolesville Pride to get them off the ground at Poolesville Day. And I do believe that, in terms of the LGBTQ, what are the last two initials besides plus?
IA.
IA, that we do have, the town has definitely stepped forward and said, you are welcome.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here. We recognize you. So I think this needs to be continuation of that discussion.
Yeah. Yep. Again, I would love for us to find some type of solution for this June, but I'm also not going to push this faster than it can go. I think it's going to have its own evolution process, and I want everyone to be able to discuss. I'd love town input.
Well, let's put
So-
it on, since we've already breached the subject, and what, I was a little reluctant to add to the agenda only because it's not fair to the residents to
Sure.
to have it. But I think we can add this still as new business for our next meeting. And then, right, still in May. And then in the meantime, let's have a further conversation about how we can, at a minimum, let's plan on a presentation first meeting in June.
Okay.
And then really devote some time to it and have a good public presentation for that right off the bat.
Great.
Because it's due and it's needed and it's inclusive.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great plan.
All right.
Thank you for your heartfelt words and writings
Yeah,
and
thank you.
advocacy. Yep, my pleasure. All right, very good. So that was the longest, that tied for Jeff for the longest presentation for announcements and committee
announcements?
reports. Yes, very good. Do we have anybody here for public comment?
Mr. Kettler?
Tom Kettler is here for public comment.
This might be what you should.
Thank you.
Tom Kettler, 17917 Elgin Road. This just kind of came up today, so I thought I'd share it with the commissioners. I'm here in capacity as president of Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce. There is an event that's just coming out of, it's in the preliminary stages, but I think it's going to happen, and I just wanted to alert the commissioners in case they want to come out. But there's going to be a multi-chamber networking event down at Crossvines on June the 6th, so that's like a month from now. It's coming up quick. So we're looking at 10 different chambers from around.
Oh.
Wow.
Talking about inclusivity, I'll run the list of the Maryland Hispanic
What time, Tom? What
Chamber, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Montgomery County, Asian American Chamber, Rockville Chamber, Maryland Black Chamber, Silver Spring Chamber, Gaithersburg, Germantown Chamber, Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce, Potomac Chamber, and possibly Olney. So we're hoping to have, I think we're shooting for 250 people, so.
What
I mean, this
time
is
was
so hot off the press that, like Jeff, who's on my board, doesn't even know about it, so now you know about it, Jeff.
I got the email.
What time? What time?
It's going to be 5 to 7.
Okay.
And there's going to be, I think the deal is going to be, it's going to be a $20, around $20 ticket price, which will cover some food that Crossvines will provide, and there'll be a cash bar with that. So, but that's pretty exciting. I mean, it's the whole notion of raising the, profile of the town through the work of Fair Access, through the work of the chamber. So I was just kind of excited about it. I figured I'd come on up tonight and tell you all about it.
that's
So,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, they reached out to us, and we said we absolutely would want to partake in that. So it's in our hood, as we say, so.
Yeah, awesome.
They're going to come into our backyard, so that's great. So, anyway, as it firms up, if there's any, hiccup in it, I'll let you know, but it looks like it's going to happen based on the emails I've been getting back. So with that, and I think it's a Thursday night, June 6th is a Thursday, yeah.
Yes.
With that, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Awesome.
And we're up to 142 members, by the way, the chamber. We're shooting for 150 this year, so at least.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
And I know some of you up there are chamber members, so we thank you for that.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Good stuff. Approval of the minutes. We had a meeting on April 22nd, 2024. I believe everybody was there. And does anybody have any questions on it and any changes? And does someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from the April 22nd meeting?
There's my motion maker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Sarah. Any questions, changes, addendums, amendments? Nothing from the commissioners. All in favor of approval of the April 22nd, 2024 meeting for the minutes, please say aye.
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 Opposed? None? Great. New business, we don't have anything on the agenda. Is there something over there, staff, I'm missing?
Nope.
Okay, very good. Old business, staff, anything that's out there that you're not going to cover in your town manager's report?
Nope.
Great. Town manager's report then? Thank you.
Nope.
Hey,
Update on the water tank real quick. We had to work through some minor details with the graphics. The stencils are actually being made up now, so anytime we should go up and, get everybody back in
Finally
line now.
remove the
that there's-
shroud.
Or, pardon?
Finally remove the shroud.
Finally. It'll be,
Right.
yeah, but the-
there's a picture of Jesus behind it.
I had a conversation.
It's kind of small.
You need some help where you get them back on
It's only
track.
this big. The picture of Jesus is only this big.
You got them?
Telling you Stonehenge.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was just going to say, during the Spring Fest, Jim and I had a conversation with the resident that lives behind the water tower.
Oh, yeah.
With his,
Forgot about that.
with his eye, what's it called?
He was great.
Binoculars.
He was very nice about it, yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, he says, I looked out my window with my binoculars, and I could see them. I was like, that hurts. That hurts. Can we not get any peace even at Springfest?
Poolesville opticians in on this?
Everyone needs to be, right. He was looking through his drink glasses. All right, go
What were
ahead.
you getting ready to say, Wade?
Yeah. Sorry, hey, until it's done,
Can I
we're
make a
gonna
motion?
gonna get a motion, right, to
He
adjourn.
wants to make a motion.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
You guys touched on the high school crosswalk. The only thing we're waiting for the flashing lights is to get the poles powder coated.
Super.
We get our own poles made through Morningstar because the ones that come from the manufacturer, they tend to crack and blow over in the storms that happen, so. And then a water report came out from Pat Hammonds from Montgomery County Alliance. It's been pre-released, so it's not really official yet. We're going through it right now. I'm trying to get a call in with Pat Hammond. He's a hydrologist, used to work for the state. I've worked for him several different projects over the years. Just has some questions with some of his data, and hopefully get a meeting with him, maybe Kathy Min, bring them in, and then even the state folks now too, because they do all the permitting and tell you what you can and can't do with the water. So I'm not sure when it's going to be released yet. Once it does, there'll be a lot of questions about it, because it talks about some of our data we have, how our wells are performing, and then how potential climate change could impact all the watersheds, out over the whole state of Maryland and the East Coast.
That wasn't necessarily a PFAS discussion.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's more to deal with climate change and future
Oh.
impacts. So, once that does get released, I'm sure we'll have a big discussion on it, and it'll be a good discussion, because you guys are going to learn a lot about the aquifer, so. Niles, you have a couple things?
Yep. So first of all, the Coalhouse Water Line Project, which we've notified residents about, will begin on Wednesday, basically. They are mobilizing today and will be doing stuff. I want to thank the HOA for being very helpful in sending out the message about this, and so I appreciate that. And I also want to thank the residents who, many of whom have already removed their cars from Coalhouse Road itself, so that can be the access for this week. In subsequent weeks, they will be doing individual courts, and as those weeks come up, we will be, again, reminding people of exactly where is being worked on when. The first bit is the mains. The second phase of the project will be the service connection between the main and the house connection. So that will be the second part. So they'll go around once, do the main, go around again, doing the connections. We're hoping, of course, to minimize disruptions as much as possible, but with a project of this size and scope and where it is, there's going to be an impact. So we want to make everybody aware of that. We've continued to make everybody aware of that.
Can I ask a quick question about that, Niles?
Sure.
So, if you turn off the water, how does that affect the fire hydrants?
They're off.
Yeah.
Does someone know that?
Yes, we'll be notifying the fire
Other
department.
than me?
Yes, yes.
You need to tell them.
And just go to that point, just,
Notified to be at this meeting.
Yeah, you turn on your faucet and there's no water, call the fire
Yeah.
department.
but
Jeff, here's his number.
Yeah.
But just to make a note, we're going to try to have the amount of time that the water is turned off to be as minimal as possible. So it's when they're making that connection between the house connection and the service, that's when the water will be off. It's usually an hour or two per the area that they're doing. So it's not, the idea is it not to be an extended period of time without water, but just when they're doing those little connections. That's the plan.
Please refrain from any house fires during that period.
We're hopeful, you know.
Only one section will be off, so there's several hydrants in there, so.
Right,
all of them will
yeah.
be off, too.
It's not all at once, it's
Right, right,
piece by
right.
piece. So that's the main thing. And then another thing, Martin alluded to the Planning Commission meeting next week. One of the things that will be on it will be about the forest conservation ordinance. So the state of Maryland is updating its regulations, which means that we have to update ours. So the state regulations take place on July 1st, and so there's a few basic things that I just want to go over. One change that will be made is an update to the definitions and conditions for a stream restoration project. Two will be that solar projects no longer have to go through the forest conservation process. Reducing in the minimum subdivision size required for forest conservation, so from 40,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet will be that change. So smaller subdivisions will also be have to go through forest conservation. Not that they don't already, but just in general circumstances. And then the fee in lieu language that is in the current code will be removed to make it consistent with the policy that has been of this body since 2019 to not accept fee in lieu for forest conservation. And then two other smaller things. We're going to increase the number of growing seasons from 2 to 3 that we have to maintain, that the developer would have to maintain to satisfy forest conservation. And then there's a question about the non-compliance fee, which we're researching now, about whether to raise that or not. It's currently 30 cents a square foot, and that was set years ago. And so the question is, what do other municipalities do in other county and such? So we're looking at that as well. So that will be part of that discussion. But we want to give you an idea on that because it will come back to this body after the Planning Commission has reviewed it and made its recommendations. Right?
One question, Niles, and that is, I know the MML, the Maryland Municipal League Conference is coming up. And I don't remember if I asked this before, were you able to get on the agenda to discuss Poolesville's, I think, stellar remediation of PFAS?
So the conversation, and I think it was Ed Reed had made a comment to this, that's probably going to be a fall conference.
Oh, okay.
Conversation, not necessarily at the summer conference, as that gets planned way in advance. So that is the sense that I got from the last discussions
All right.
with MML.
And there were a number of MML representatives that came here and we met in this room. And I think they were maybe, happy that Poolesville has made such progress, but I don't know if they were knowledgeable about that beforehand.
They had some knowledge in advance, and actually since then, their staff has reached out to MDE with the state as well to have conversations where we're all in the loop to making sure when it comes to funding and things like that, that we have a path forward.
Yep. And just one more thing. I know you were going to have a conversation, but I don't remember exactly who, so maybe you could fill in the gaps there, about the security of the skate park.
Yes, so I'm still waiting on a couple of things back from the city of Gaithersburg. They had some policy things that they were going to share. I've continued to have conversations with them. We actually have already, though, replaced the safety sign that's in the park to make it more legible and things like that, just to sort of improve people's awareness of what the security at the park should be and what best practice should be. So we're working through that process still.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Niles.
How are they doing with the park anyway at Helmus and?
Oh, yes,
getting up to speed?
So that is almost, we're hoping that that will all be concluded this week. And so it should be back in service that probably next week or the week after.
Will the lights be
Preston
back
said that-
on too?
Yes, all of that, it will be reconnected. They've already reconnected the power,
Lights are
so,
probably on now.
so the lights should be on now.
I just got a text message saying the lights aren't on.
We'll have
Okay.
to reset them because we just connected the transformer back up to the building.
On like Friday. So I will check in with that.
We could check inside.
Yeah.
And I believe Niles and Ed, I believe Preston said the not the restoration, but the reconstruction of the restrooms is a bit delayed.
So it was at the point of that conversation, which was in early April.
Yeah.
They've proceeded with a couple of supply chain questions to getting to the point where it's pretty much, I'd say 90,
They're almost done.
9%
Oh,
done,
swell,
yeah.
swell.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's just crazy when you go look at that little teeny building out there and think
Yeah.
it costs 200 and some $1,000.
All I think is, we all were aghast that they cost $100,000.
Yep.
Remember that?
First one,
Yeah,
yeah.
the $100,000 restroom. We never thought Poolesville would ever
Might
have
as well
something
just
like
build a
that.
little house,
That's right, exactly.
little kitchen and everything,
None
right?
of us thought that was possible. Anything else, town staff?
He's ready.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I second his motion.
Motion by Martin, second by Ed, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you all for hearing me out.
Good conversation.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Appreciate your feedback.
Yeah. It's interesting. I haven't really dove in, but I'm just glancing through.
Some cool stuff out there.
Yeah. I'll take a good look at it.
You know, another thing that, and this is just off the cuff, which I really enjoyed was when I lived in Belgium, on, what's that,
It's done
you know,
this
when you
last-
bring your wife
I
her
might have
chocolates?
to talk to him.
What's that?
Belgium.
Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day.